Hello, Mike. This is Gary with a video recording for your Thanksgiving giveaway. When a friend was important to you, uh, fortunately, I don't have a pipe in my hand, but since this is a virtual recording or a virtual media, just imagine some kind of a Savinelli author in my hand with the Virginia, and we'll all be good. But what I'm going to do is attach a short story, for lack of a better term, that I wrote about a friend of mine and an experience we had long ago, kind of apropos to the topic at hand. So hopefully it will provide some enjoyment to some folks. And anyway, thanks for the channel. You do a great job, and good luck to everybody else in the drawing. An old VW Bug driving at speed through a cornfield is a thrill, to my way of thinking, one of the greatest my 20-something self could experience. I attribute my euphoria's genesis to the many action-adventure movies I was weaned on. Perhaps it was The Hunter, where bounty hunter Steve McQueen, driving a cumbersome Massey Ferguson harvester, chases a pair of gleeful fugitives driving a Firebird, the ubiquitous preferred car of all that era's action-adventure flicks, through a field of grain. No matter, the wellspring of improbable car chases through bucolic brambles, muddy morasses, and other off-road vegetative obstacles is a well-worn trope in the action-adventure genre. The experience is visceral, all the senses seduced to fever pitch by the jolting. Stalks angrily flapping the flanks of the car, the scent of dust and spent corn stalks in my nostrils, imagination soaring, catalyzed by the bloodlust of sheer power unbridled. Surely this was how it felt to drive Pharaoh's chariot, running down ancient enemies, a mounted knight, a horse on an armored destrier, charging through the foe's ranks. The berserker frenzy was palpable, innate, and understood. The exhilaration was soon spent, as all such experiences, springing as they do from primordial instincts fueled by adrenaline, are transitory and exhausting. It is well and good that they are so. Attempts to maintain such a state is ultimately destructive, diminishing transcendental to mundane at the expense of addiction that cannot be sated. Having decisively trampled the minions of Maze, I dismounted at the bluffs overlooking the river, where a knot of fellow berserkers was to be seen around a bonfire. No doubt they too were celebrating the victory over the wild, the victors drinking horns. In this case, the horns were aluminum cans, overflowing and in every hand. I joined the fray, and never had the fruit of the barley corn tasted as sweet. Then came a time when, filled with golden ambrosia, I decided to survey the magnificent expanse of La Belle Riviere, spread out low those hundreds of feet below, sinuous, sleek, and seductive. A susurration was in my ears, beckoning me come close, closer, and see. I followed the whispered suggestion without hesitation until I stood at the very edge of the precipice. Silver light from a gibbous moon sparkled on the ebony water below. No barge traffic or pleasure craft marred that black mirror, and the tranquility of the water was in sharp contrast to the roistering frolic behind me. The night was deliciously warm, a serotonal evening of perfection and pleasure. The insouciant cocoon of sensual delight wrapped around me was transitory, as lo, Xanadu's pleasure dome came crashing down, the innocuous butte, that pleasant promontory from which I peered into the black mirror below, Suddenly reared Minotaur, then Perfidious, as the ground beneath my feet collapsed, tumbling in a vertiginous cascade to the placid mirror below. Gravity and fear were my bane companions. The slow motion start of the plunge, marked by sinister attempts to grab at anything of substance. One final flail remaining ere the plunge to the abyss. I worried that my impact might roil the perfect silver and black mirror for others. Concurrent with the flail, a metallic cupric taste was in my mouth, the taste of utter fear, fitting on this night of things primordial. I was falling, arcing back into the black velvet of the night, constellations rolling overhead, and I felt something hard and rough, yet warm and reassuring, in my hands. Then blackness. It was impossible for a body to be cold in that perfect summer evening, so I knew that I must be in the arms of the Valkyrie. Being born to whatever Valhalla a 22-year-old man, acting on impulsive desires, was destined to inhabit. I remembered Achilles' loathing of the underworld, and hoped wherever I was wouldn't be quite as bad as the Hades of the Greeks. I opened my eyes, not sure what fresh hell to expect. My clenched fists were cold, as was every part of my body. Cold as the stars still overhead. As distant as they were was the tiny, tinny, incessant sound in my ears. It grew more strident and louder. I rolled my head in the direction of the source and saw my friend Tom standing next to me. I was stretched out near the fire, and for it was becoming apparent with each passing moment, I was indeed alive. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why I was so cold. Gary, you idiot! What the hell were you trying to do there? I must be alive. I could hear him talking. I don't know. I was just looking down at the river when the ground gave way and I was following. I don't recall much after that. You were lucky, man. I happened to see you over there, drinking and standing on the edge of a cliff. It ain't too smart. When you fell, I bolted, and just as you grabbed the branch growing out of the cliff, I was able to grab your arm. You hit your head and were out cold. We thought you were dead for a minute. You were lucky. And so I was. What had started out as a romanticized adventure, in my mind anyway, dissolved into what it really was, a drive through a cornfield to a party, resulting, as these things sometimes and often do, in a near miss with the all too real consequences of adventure. But then again, isn't that what makes life worth living? And these many years later, I like to think that escaping Charon before he got me across the Acheron and Styx made me savor life just that much more. Now, pardon me, I think I see a windmill over there that needs tilting. Thank you, Tom, for being there that night.